Good day, good day. I have a great guest on who has talked me into this and made me step out of my comfort zone. It's my good friend, Gordon. So welcome, Gordon.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. King of Quotes, Jelani Daniel.
Super to have you here. And we were having a brief discussion. We just put this together. It was, what was it, the day before yesterday? You said,
yes,
let's do this. Let's
off of here we are, right? Let me turn this down. So, okay. Jelani, before we start, I'm just going to share this with a few of my friends. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that would be great.
I'm just going to just share it. I love technology. Yeah, so all yours, my friend.
Beautiful. So we were having a brief discussion, and it had to do a little bit with life as we're seeing it right now, with the pandemic, and how I was speaking to you, how I was seeing my friends and some associates. A lot of them were being down, that down feeling, and we immediately got to it, more or less stating that during this time, there's such a high need for mindset.
Yes.
And it is the most important thing right now is the mindset, so you know how to tackle the issues. So you were the perfect fit. You were the perfect fit, because I do know that you have an upcoming event in regards to Think and Grow Rich coming up, and I wanted my friends to be a part of what you're doing.
Absolutely, and I'd love to talk about that a little bit, into our conversation. In the meantime, if your friends are here, I have posted the link, Jelani, on this chat here. So John Shin, who's the executive producer of Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy, the movie, will be on a special 30-minute conversation with us tomorrow.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
What I'll do, let me see if I can try to share this right now. Give me one moment, because this is that was the reason for this.
This is called technology. We're all trying to figure it out, right? So while you're doing that, just if some of the folks are watching, John Shin is out of California, and his parents immigrated to California. He was very young. They're from Korea, South Korea. Okay. And I can relate a little bit to that, because my parents came from Hong Kong. And I remember when I came, I was like maybe 9 years old here in Toronto. And Jelani, I stood out like a sore thumb, right? I couldn't speak English. It was tough. It was rough, right? And but anyways, John today has started 26 companies from scratch that are all multi-million-dollar enterprises.
That's incredible. That's a testament to an incredible feat. Incredible feat.
Isn't it an incredible feat?
Yes. And when someone does anything 26 times, that means there's a formula behind it.
Yes. So not once, not twice, not three, not a 3 or 4 P, right? 26 times.
That's an incredible formula.
I'm waiting for a quote from you on that.
And the other part of it is with your event tomorrow, will you guys be delving into the mindset of an individual that does such incredible feat?
Absolutely. John Shin has really mastered what I believe Think and Grow Rich. So a lot of people have probably seen or read Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, that was written in 1937. So mindset is so important, right? Like, one of my favorite quotes from Think and Grow Rich was, "What the mind of man can conceive and believe, he or she can achieve." And so when you've got somebody like John Shin, who's master with his mindset, right? Like thoughts, like how do you translate thoughts into things? How do you translate thoughts into riches? And so he's now produced a movie called Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy, which is in theaters. And I'm sure some of our friends, Jelani, because you're the master of quotes, right? Your quotes inspire. And so you're welcome. Bob Proctor, for example. How many of our friends know Bob Proctor?
Many of them.
Many, right? The
Yes.
best of the best of the best. So Bob Proctor is actually featured in this movie,
Wow.
right?
That's incredible.
Yeah, the Shark Tank. I love watching the Shark Tank. And Barbara Corcoran, who is in the Shark Tank, she's in the movie. You ever heard of Grant Cardone, 10X
Yes.
Races? Grant
Uncle
Cardone's
G.
there. Lewis Howell, Sharon Lecter, who wrote Think and Grow Rich for Women. Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, who wrote Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. It's
So it's
just incredible. Like
an assortment of talented people.
oh, incredible! Like John Lee Dumas. Like John, if you now have a podcast. Congratulations! Closing in on 100,000
That,
views or downloads. I encourage you, Jelani, to keep going because John Lee Dumas was in the military, and he left the military just a few years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Started a podcast called Entrepreneur on Fire.
okay.
Brand new. He was never a podcaster. So right now he's making approximately $250,000 a month in residual income.
Wow.
Right. So as an
Wow.
example, Lenny, one of the things he does is he just keeps on providing entertainment on
Wow.
his podcast, education, and he encourages people to use ClickFunnels. And every time someone uses ClickFunnels, he gets ka-ching. He gets
Wow.
paid.
Yes.
Okay.
And
So that. Mhm.
no, and where you're going with like this is what I love, and this is what like we're trying to bring new ideas and tackle new challenges to match the times.
Yeah.
That's more or less where we're with mindset. We're getting instead of being down, we're learning more so that we could tackle the new frontier and be victorious.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Jelani, the to finish the thought about the movie for a minute, um, look at all the thought leaders that are in that movie, right? It's just absolutely incredible. And so, if who we hang around with is important, right? Who we hang around with, they say, is who we're most likely going to become. And Napoleon Hill talks about creating a master alliance or a mastermind. Well, knowing what you know about John Shin, wouldn't you want to kind of be in his circle of influence?
It would be it's an I don't even like using this term, but it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. So for the folks, no brainer. So for the folks who are on that Zoom webinar call tomorrow, it's the first step, right, to getting one step closer to John Shin, and he's also written a book called How Rich Asians Think and Grow Rich, and it's also a Napoleon Hill Foundation publication as well. And when I first saw that book, I thought, I'm Asian. I want to read that book. But when you think about it, it doesn't matter if you're Asian or every persuasion. Wouldn't you want to know how to think and grow rich?
Yeah, it's I think every culture, every human has that and wishes that. So they would want to take advantage of that because I'm sure the formula is for everyone. It's just who wants to follow the
Who wants to
formula.
follow it? Yeah. It's a formula, like you said. And the Science of Getting Rich, it's a tiny little book. You can read it in one sitting. And the Science of Getting Rich says there's steps to getting rich. And when people miss a step, that's why they're not rich, right? So there's a science to that. So going back to tomorrow, it's the webinar only holds 100 people. And I think we've already sold 83 tickets. And the tickets are free. Tickets are
Okay.
free. So if some of your friends are watching, I would
No,
click on that link now, register, make sure they get a ticket, and never take it for granted just because it's free. I mean, I wish Jay Giant Canton decided to charge $100 per ticket instead of free. Because when you know this as a leader, when people don't pay, they don't pay attention.
that's correct, 100%.
Yeah.
And Gordon, the thing is, just to speak about who you are, more or less, you're the one that encouraged me about for my podcast, and even I've got a story even before that. That's why, like, this is even I would tell everyone to step out their comfort zone.
Yeah.
I've been interviewed I've never thought of interviewing anyone, but when Gordon puts something, an idea towards you, you jump, because at the end of the
Wow.
day, uh, like for instance, if I did not do my podcast, I would have never reached out to close to 90,000 people. I would have never,
Wow.
like, it's
Wow.
just been so helpful. And you had to, I didn't voluntarily jump into it. It was your, every time you told me about it, you kept telling me about it repeatedly. And then I
Yeah.
just said, you know what? And I appreciate that. And you've supported me before that,
Yeah.
before there was a podcast. So when you bring information to the table, I would definitely tell someone who's out there on the fence or just wants to refine their abilities to take heed of that information, because it
Yeah.
will take you to places that you don't expect. And I'm prime example of that.
Okay, welcome our sound, anybody who's watching. So let me ask you this, because I must have sounded like a broken record, and at some point you were probably, this guy's nuts. Because every time we chatted, you would say, what do I need to do? Right? I would say, if you want to grow your influence and your income and your impact, start a podcast. And I literally believe it was about a year and a half later, right?
Don't
About a
tell
year
them
and a
that,
half
Gordon.
later, you were in Jamaica. And by the way, I finally went to Jamaica for the first time in my life.
How was it?
And oh, I loved it. It was in February. It was just before the pandemic, and I was like, oh, I'd be back there right now if it wasn't for the pandemic. But what you were in Jamaica with your family? I love
Yes.
your kids.
Thank you.
I want to see a new book, Rise of the Roman Empire, right? So, what finally sparked you to write a book? I mean, to start a podcast?
Um, you know, I think it was just the right formula, because you installed it in my thoughts. You installed it in my thoughts, and I don't recollect
That's called
exact.
auto suggestion, right? Napoleon Hill, auto suggestion. People
Correct.
planting thoughts in for you, right? Just auto suggesting. Go start, Jelani. Take your quotes, man. They're so incredible. Turn
But
them into podcasts.
you did it to me, and I don't I can't remember what occurred, but you installed the seed in my mindset. So, and then whatever triggered me, it was a trigger. I don't remember the trigger, but I remembered you keep repeating, installing that in my mind.
Yeah.
So that was that. If you want to say what started it, was you and the constant reminder that I should. And then something else triggered it for me to follow through, but I wouldn't have been able to follow through without the seed in which you planted. So I, again, thank you, Gordon.
You're welcome. Right? Auto suggestion. So, Jelani, you're not a tech guy. You always say that,
No.
right? You always say, like, okay, my strength is in technology, and I get individuals. I would get 2 or 3 people a month right now that I'm helping set up their podcast. And they're like, I'm not a technical person. I'm not a technical person. Share with us, walk through with maybe some of the folks who are watching. Welcome, Mr. Lester Bailey from Phoenix, Arizona.
Lester.
What what was your experience like for you? Was it that difficult?
When I did it, it was almost, it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing, because I was telling you no without trying the process. And when I tried it, I figured out something. I think because earlier, years before, I think I looked at it, and when they were breaking it down, it seemed like I needed to be a scientist to get this idea out. But I did not know technology had moved so far from that, because on my podcast, I've never done it in the studio. I do it off of my phone. I
Yeah,
press record, and I
easy,
put it
isn't
up.
it?
Yeah, just
Yeah,
it's a matter of pressing 2 buttons and inputting a title.
yes.
And if you could make a phone call, you could make a podcast.
That's it, right?
Simple.
Press, play, record, submit, and fast forward to today. How many downloads do you have?
Over 85,000, and
Wow.
I could have had a lot more, and I'll share it quickly. And I'm supposed to be interviewing you, but I'm just so excited to have
Let's have
you
a
know, like you're my
conversation.
guy, Gordon. And the I could have had more, but I was not. I would recommend everyone to be consistent with it because
Yeah.
I got more than I expected. Everyone tells me, why don't you continue? But it's like I wasn't going to start. It was you that helped me start. I didn't expect to get so much downloads. I got so much out of it. I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. That was the idea because it surpassed my ideas. But what I would recommend anyone that does it, just have some consistency because I did realize I would have a certain amount of downloads when I initially started. Then the downloads stopped because I wasn't feeding more content. So anyone that does anything, just show some consistency so that your audience knows that you'll be around again. That's what I
The thing is, you're
realized.
still benefiting from all those downloads today, though. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, I thank you. That's all I would say. I thank you. I know it was when someone puts in King of Quotes in Google, I come up and I could clearly I know without a doubt it was due to the podcast, and that was one of my goals because I tell everyone Martin Luther King was having giving me some problems, and he, every time I punch in King of Quotes, I would see Martin, and with the podcast, Martin gave me a little space, so now when you put it in, I come up.
All they
And
see is Jelani Daniel, right?
yeah. So I thank Martin too.
I got a new I've got a new website for you. Jelani Daniel everywhere.com.
Hey, Gordon, I will always listen to you. Secondly, just to go back to your event for tomorrow.
Yes.
You've given us all the details, but what if I would say what would be the one thing that someone should sign on for tomorrow? What would you think? What would you say? If anything, what would be the one good reason for someone to be on your event tomorrow?
Yeah. There are so many reasons. The one reason that I think someone should sign on tomorrow. Um, Look, you started off by saying it's the pandemic. It's pandemic, COVID-19. It's been a long time. I remember back in February and they said 14 days, that I can handle 14 days. Lockdown, I can handle, there's another 14 days. 14 days seemed like it was 14 years ago.
That's
Listen, I'm getting cabin fever here. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if anybody out there is feeling a little bit anxious, a little bit stressed. You got kids at home, you got spouse at home. Maybe when you used to have a little more space and you could go out. If you even just need a break, right? A 30, 45-minute break where you can just shut everything down and come and sit in front of an individual that's going to inspire and motivate you. Like the energy that John Shin has is unbelievable. I
that's
mean,
exciting.
energy, excitement, enthusiasm. If you look at Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Jim Rohn, like all these guys, Brian Tracy, roll into one. That's John Shin. Like any of the individuals that I mentioned, can they talk about having 26 businesses they started from scratch that have become multi-million-dollar enterprises?
And that's quite a feat. Quite a
Right?
feat.
Sits on 6 different boards for charities. I mean, think about this for a minute. If you could have the kind of success that John Shin has today, and you could give to a charity of your choice right now, who would you support? Right? If you could get one little thing from John Shin tomorrow, one little thing that's going to help your mindset, right? To finish 2020 strong. We're at December 1 right now. We have like 30 days left for this month. Are you kidding me? I mean, when Steady Freddy goes into the last minute of the game, he doesn't shut down.
No, he activates.
Right? Like, look at OG, the Raptors, right? Like, buzzer beater. Like, you got to be a buzzer beater right now. You could possibly do more right now in 30 days than you've done the entire year.
It's a possibility. It is a great possibility. Yeah.
So why wouldn't you be there tomorrow, right? and use that, what you're going to learn, and the energy, the excitement, the enthusiasm, the momentum, everyone you're going to meet as well, to propel yourself for 2021. So I'm not sure why you're going to be there, but if you don't have a reason to be there tomorrow, don't show up, because there's only 100 slots available. Like, save that slot for somebody who really wants to be there. Because I really don't know your why. Like, what is your why? Like, why do you want to be there?
I know I'll be there.
Right?
I know I'll be there. I know I'll be there. And just to share the idea, if you're helping people, what I like, for me, I cheer people on. That's what, people always ask me, Jelani, what do? You do this. And I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, don't worry about those other things. The reality is, I just want to commit. Like, I don't, when I leave a legacy, I don't want to be a legacy of he was an entrepreneur. I wanted that he put an effort towards helping others. Like, he committed his life towards trying to help others and giving them, like, just igniting them. And what I learned with this time, and why I'm so excited about this event also, is if you're helping others, you owe it to yourself to get them the best information to help themselves. So you can't just be helping others without being diligent and getting the best info to help them. So that's my, like, refining your own game, refining your own knowledge, your own mindset. So instead of just going on Jelani, let's learn from someone who has done a lot.
He's been there, he's done it, right? He's been there. And so, Jelani, exactly what you said, Napoleon Hill says rendering service. And you're talking about helping people. Zig Ziglar always says, if you help enough other people get what they want, then you're going to be able to get what you want. So how do you learn how to render service? If you're a real estate agent and you're going to make $20,000 every time you sell a home, if you want to make, when I say you, third party, and somebody says, I want to make $100,000 a year, that's easy. You just got to render that service 5 times a year. That's it. One a month, one a month for 5 months, and you can take the other 6 months off. Correct. So let's say a first-time home buyer. How many first-time home buyers do you want to help get into their first home? So it's not like, hey, I want to make 20 grand. I want to find somebody I can sell them a home, so I'm going to make 20 grand. Who can I help become a first-time home buyer? And so if I don't know how to do it, I got to go find somebody who does.
Correct.
Right? So let's say Roy Cleves, who's a member of Lander for Success. He wrote this book right here. We just helped him write a book. And my passion, I love helping people write books. Roy Cleves just wrote this book, The Accidental Real Estate Millionaire. He owned a Jumbo Video. I said, Jumbo Video? Like, do you mean Jumbo Shrimps? He said, no, Jumbo Video. And like, I know, like, Blockbuster used to video stores. He was like $40,000, $50,000 upside down and in debt. And he started accidentally investing in real estate, and he's made millions as an investor. And his team sells about 150 to 200 homes a year.
That's incredible.
Right? Isn't it incredible? Now, there's brokerages out there that sell 200 or 300 a month. So for some, they're going to say, well, 200 a year, that's not much. But when you look at an agent who's struggling to sell 5 deals a year, if I was struggling how to sell 5 deals a year, I'd be knocking on Roy's door right now. Mr. Cleves, right? Mr. Cleves, I'm here. I'm here to work for you. Like Edwin C. Barnes and Think and Grow Rich. My ultimate goal is to be in business with you, Mr. Thomas Edison.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
My ultimate goal is I want to be in business with you, but you tell me where you want me to start. I'll start. I'll work anywhere you want to be, but eventually I want to be your business partner. So Roy, you tell me where you want me to start. You want me to carry a bag, do open houses? What do you want me to do?
To get to that next
ultimately,
stage.
I want you to teach me how I can list and sell my own homes and how I can be an accidental real estate millionaire. And so, Jelani, that's one of the things that I love about Think and Grow Rich. And I can't think of anyone better than John Shin, who's been there, done it, and teaching so many other people, how to do it. Yeah.
And Gordon, to add to something, as you were speaking, I reflected on some thoughts, and more or less on my journey, I've seen people speak of others. Like, so as you said, you broke down the numbers, whereas one organization sells 300 and he's selling 200, 150. But the organization who's selling 300 is not opening their doors to you, to speak to you, to help you. So
Well,
what is
there
the
you go.
relevance?
There you
What is
go.
the relevance of that?
Access.
Correct.
Access. What's access? It's so important, isn't it? So Jelani, you wrote a book. Do
Correct.
you remember I kept on saying, Jelani, you should be part of a co-author book one day too. And I've already got several books. So you resisted me with the podcast, but for some reason you got into a co-author book, which was amazing because I remember when you called me, you said, Gordon, I couldn't believe I was at this book launch and I met the mayor and I had writer's cramp. I could hear the sincerity and the excitement in your voice through the years. This is incredible. Like they wanted me to, they wanted a picture taken with me. They wanted my autograph. I felt like a celebrity. And so that's amazing. That's not all. So, and somebody said, we'd like to, are you guys in the States? We have an event coming up where we'd like to see if we can introduce you to President Obama.
It was, and you had installed that into my mind, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen the way we structured it, but it happened in a different way. But it was back to what you stated. And again, the guys from New Me, and like,
hey, the
Jeff,
guys who knew me, send them a ticket. Give them a free ticket to join us tomorrow.
Certainly, those like these, and another thing, because when I like to speak, I don't want to share information without feeling something or being a part of something.
Yeah.
And my podcast changed my life. My first book changed my life. My teamwork with getting, with Jeff from New Me, putting us together, changed my life. So be open to new things, and be open to things that where someone gives you the ability to take something in. Be open to that.
I love that. And not only be open, access. Let's go back to access for a minute. Tomorrow you have access to John Shin. The next day, if you want to see John Shin, you may have to pay $10,000, $20,000 just to get in the door to see him.
Correct.
Does that make sense? And when someone said to you, hey, I can introduce you to President Obama, or be at an event where he's going to be at, did they say to you, write me a check for 10 or 20 grand and then I can introduce you to him?
No.
But I know people who do that.
100%.
I know someone who took a course, and then the individual said, if you want gravy, it's easy. Give me another 10 grand and then I'll take you to the promised land.
Yes.
Right. So people are always so quick to have their money in our back. There are individuals out there that could have one hand in your back pocket in your wallet, the other hand, they're shaking your one hand, their other hand in your back pocket, in your wallet, and smiling at you.
Correct.
And, access is so important, isn't it?
Yeah,
There's so many people that are, it's like Jeff Bezos from Amazon. And by the way, the founder of Zappos, 46 years old, just passed away, and he sold his business to Jeff Bezos for over $1 billion. Can you imagine?
Jeez.
$1 billion. So, but people brag about Jeff Bezos, and I order from Amazon all the time, but all I'm doing is just making him rich. But I never see him pay my bills.
No.
If I called him up right now and said, hey, Mr. Bezos, can you teach me how to sell on Amazon? I can't even get past the secretary.
Correct.
But I have an individual in the UK who he's now taught over 8,000 individuals how to start up their business with a little computer from home and sell on Amazon. And he's got testimonials of individuals that are making thousands and tens of thousands of dollars a month, like real live testimonials, documentation of how they have started up Amazon businesses, selling and making money. So who would you want to talk to? Jeff Bezos or the little guy down here who actually gives you access?
Correct.
So access is important, isn't it?
That is, it's paramount.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's Gordon, as I appreciate everything that you do, and I'll make sure that I'll transfer this information to as many people as possible, because another thing that I've seen in this time is that information could change your mindset and more or less give you hope, give
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
give you hope,
Hope,
just from hearing a
create
different
hope.
perspective.
Yeah,
And and now when you're in this situation, you might be in a situation that is way better than what you've lost,
yeah.
or even give you a platform to jump higher than you've ever jumped. So I do appreciate this. This is why I'm all gun-ho. I'll be on the meeting. I'm going to promote it to all of my friends, and you know, whoever wants to be. And I appreciate what you said. If you don't want to be there, don't be there. Like,
Don't be there.
this is for people
Yeah.
that want to learn, that
I won't be
want
offended. If you're
information.
not there tomorrow, I won't be offended. I don't mean you, but I'm saying third party, because I know you
I
would.
know,
If
I
somebody doesn't
know,
want
I
to be
know.
there, heck, right? My
Yeah.
dad used to work for the city, Jelani,
Yes.
back in the 70s, and he would get free tickets to the Blue Jays games. None of us wanted them. You couldn't give them away, right? It was crazy. Like my dad would come home. Hey, we got Jays tickets. I don't want them, Dad. Right? Do you remember when they used to play at C&E Stadium?
Yeah.
I think I went to one game and it rained and I was wet and I was cold and I hated it. Now, especially when the Jays are winning, you can buy a ticket.
No, no, no. You would have to, exactly, a different mind, a different whole idea.
Yeah,
But
access, right? Access. So back then he had access to free tickets. Now it's crazy.
yeah, and
Playoffs, can't get a
also to
ticket.
also to, it's uh make that, like, although it's a free event, but before you as you said, just repeating before we go, before you downplay the fact of it being free, why don't you analyze, do a little research, and show up with an open mind?
Show with an open mind, yeah.
That's
Why would you
all.
say that? Why would you have to show up with an open mind?
You have to show up with an open mind because you're in the operation of learning.
Hmm.
So whatever if you have all of these ideas before you go and you're not coming with an open mind, it's not the right environment for you. You have to show up with an open mind, and
Like that.
then you would get the true value of what the gentleman is speaking of.
Yeah. Someone once said, our mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open.
That's that's that's
Right?
that is a great one.
Yeah.
And 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 to add to that one, as I put more thought to it, I've had times in my life where I I wanted to keep my mind closed, but the pressure of my existence, I had no choice but to open it.
Hmm.
I had no choice. And it was not by will, but it was by survival. It was by
Wow.
growth. I had to open it. And
And
I would
that
employ
sometimes the
anyone else to
best,
do it.
that sometimes is the best time of our lives, is when our backs are up against the wall, isn't it? Right?
Correct.
And surrender, like there is no surrender. There's no surrender, there's no retreat. Those are the best times. Like think about
Yeah,
like
there's
people are watching where there are a time when you like there was like failure was not an option,
no,
right?
I know, and that's what, like, sometimes people say, they talk to me and they'll say something like, I'll say, I don't have an option. And what I'm doing is I'm
But they
saying
do
that,
because they're still out there eating. They're still spending money on things like Black Friday sales and Cyber Monday. They're still buying stuff they can't afford to try to impress people they don't like.
yeah, it's
So,
a
they still have
very
that little
interesting.
job, right? They still have those credit cards, and maybe they still have mom and dad. So they're uncomfortable, but they're not that uncomfortable. Their backs against the wall, but are they? Jelani, it's kind of like that story, the coon dog. You know the story, the coon dog?
No, no.
No? So the story of the coon dog, where some guy was driving through the countryside, and and he just needed to go to the bathroom so badly, and there's no, rest areas anywhere and bathrooms coming up. So he sees the farmer's house, he pulls over, he drives into the driveway, he sees this farmer sitting on his porch on a rocking chair, right? And there's his little coon dog lying beside him. And as he walks towards the farmer, the dog's going, right? And he's like, oh, that dog's like in pain, right? And he walks up to the guy and he's, asking if he could use this washroom. And the guy says, yes, no problem. There's an outhouse over here. But the coon dog still go, and the guy says to the farmer, he's just like, sir, your dog's in pain, right? He goes, yeah, he's lying on a nail, a bed of nails. And so he's uncomfortable. And the guy said to the farmer, he said, well, if your dog's lying on a bed of nails and he's uncomfortable, why doesn't he just get up and move? And the farmer said, yeah, he's uncomfortable, but he's not that uncomfortable. Right? Think about that.
Yeah,
so
that's a deep one. That's a factual statement.
If he was, I want to change, I'm coachable, and you notice there's no changes.
Yes.
There's no changes in their attitude, their lives, the way they do things. They continue to do the same thing over and over again. But they'll tell you, no, I've changed.
Yes.
You know anyone like that?
Lots of people.
I was like that.
Yes, I suffer from the same and the other thing with me and you, Gordon, is that we don't have a problem with stating that we are on the same train. We're just getting off.
Yeah.
Right? That we're whatever it is, we suffer from it or have suffered from it, but we keep the mindset open to change that.
Yeah.
And that's what I would employ anyone to do. I will be sharing this with everyone I can. And as I said, this gentleman is a stand-up gentleman, and he assisted me. So when I'm sharing this, I'm sharing it not as a salesman, but as someone that had a genuine impact on my life. And I would hope that someone else could get the same thing from taking your advice. And that's why I was here today. And Gordon, thank you for always pushing me. You're appreciated.
Jelani, you have 60 seconds left.
Yes.
This one's for you, my friend. Okay, your podcast. So a friend of mine, Sam, made $125,000 from the 15-minute podcast.
Holy smokes.
Okay, and so this was back in 2008. And he had worked in the corporate world, and his daughter was 3 years old. How old is your daughter now?
3.
3, right?
Yes.
So Sam's daughter, Madeline, used to say, Daddy, when are you going to be home? And he would say, Saturday. Daddy, when are you going to be home? Saturday. So one day he quit his corporate job, started a business, opened up a Christmas franchise, went $300,000 in debt, and went bankrupt.
Jeez.
Yeah. He says, when you're down, you talked about like people that are down earlier, right? Anxiety, stress. So it's not just the pandemic. If it's not the pandemic, there's other problems. So he started running, and remember, he says I was listening to a podcast. I had a iPod. I mean, how many people remember iPods? That's what.
Yes, I remember the iPod.
So our kids are like, Dad, what's an iPod? Right?
What is that?
So he said, I'm listening to Les Brown. I'm running. I'm listening to Les Brown. I'm listening to Robbie Kiyosaki. I'm listening to Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn. I thought, if these guys can get into my headspace, maybe one day I could do the same for others. And he tried all kinds of things, real estate stuff. He succeeded at some and failed miserably at others. And finally, he started a podcast.
Wow.
He started a podcast, and he got a call. He says, he was floundering. He got this call one day because somebody heard one of his podcasts, got invited to speak in Hawaii. They paid him $25,000 to speak in Hawaii.
Jeez.
While he was there, he presented and sold on stage and made another $125,000. And that changed the trajectory of his career forever. Today, his podcast has over 20 million plus downloads.
Powerful.
Isn't that incredible?
Powerful.
So who wants to start a podcast now?
I would recommend it.
Yeah. And that's really one of the reasons for tomorrow, right? Is who are you going to meet that may be able to inspire and motivate you to do what you need to do, whatever it takes, right? What do you need to do? Everyone's going to be different.
Correct.
So, I mean, that's that story. My buddy
No,
saying
that's real. That's a real deal story. I
yeah.
mean,
Okay.
more or less. Again, Gordon, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jelani.
Have a great evening.
Thank you, Jelani. Take care, everyone.
Take care.